What if protests didn't make headlines anymore because they never stopped? When unrest becomes routine, when anger fills the streets week after week, what happens to daily life, to freedom, to stability? In this episode, we explore a future where protests aren't rare, they're reality, and how you can be ready for it. Welcome to another episode of the What If Tomorrow podcast. I'm Philip.
And I'm Mark.
And tonight, we kind of skipped our list. We've got a list of shows that we want to do, but this is pertinent to actually what's happening right now. Tonight, we're going to be talking about exactly what the title says is what if civil unrest becomes the norm? Because right now, man, it really seems like it kind of is. Hey, Enzo, how are you doing, sir?
Enzo is the man.
That's right. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about tonight is just running down kind of wargaming this situation because it seems like it's the norm right now with, you know, the whole ICE protests and a bunch more. It seems to be coming down the line. You know, and not trying to fear monger or nothing like that, but, you know, we're looking at possible Islamic riots, things like that. I mean, Islam has taken over the West, it seems. The New York mayoral candidate, he is a Islamicist, not a Muslim. There's a difference. He believes in Sharia law. He's an extreme socialist. You name it. So I can see down the line that there's going to be a lot more riots and protests and all this junk. You know, I forgot to mention that No King's Day, and just it seems like it's going to be perpetual for at least the next few years with who's in office. So we just kind of wanted to go down this rabbit hole and kind of discuss what could trigger it, what we can do, and how to prepare for it. That being said, I'm going to get this out of the way real quick if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Here we go.
Hey, this is Mark with What If Tomorrow and What If Tomorrow on the Fringe. Be sure to check out our website, whatiftomorrowmedia.com, and look at our cool merch. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, posters, and more. Our affiliates are Duke Cannon, EMP Shield, My Patriot Supply, and Conflicted the Game. Or check out buymeacoffee.com/whatiftomorrow and buy us a coffee. And as always, be sure to like, comment, and share on both Facebook and YouTube. It helps get our content out to others and help our channel grow. Now on with the show.
Definitely. We are in the process of making some changes. It's going to be a continual thing until we kind of feel like that's where we need to be at. Trying to get a little more organized with the show. You know, that way you guys are more informed and hopefully enjoy it more. If you have any changes you want to recommend, by all means reach out to us at our email or shoot us a message on Messenger or however you want to reach out to us. And we would appreciate the support and supporting our affiliate links and things like that. First, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but we're going to run down it anyway. We're going to talk about, you know, what is civil unrest. You know, it's protests, riots, curfews, martial law, supply chain disruptions, you know, from riots and demonstrations, things like that. People getting in the way of traffic. I mean, we've saw tons of that like the last few years, and then we're seeing it again. You know, people just blocking traffic. Well, if they block it for a long time and the law enforcement doesn't do anything about it, well, you're going to have shipping stopped and all this junk. So that's
Well, not to mention people getting hurt.
right. Right. You know, and not to make light of it, but the people that are willing to get in front of a vehicle knowing people are tired of this stuff, they got some guts, man. They've got some guts. You know, I mean, I as bad as it sounds, I got to give them props for standing what they believe in. They're willing to risk life and limb to stand for it.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, if something happens, I mean, they're going to be martyred. They're going to be thrown all over the news. Well, they were just peacefully protesting or whatnot, and the individual that was under attack or blocked or whatever is going to be made into the bad guy.
Right. I can see it. Some
Unfortunately.
little old lady is
Yep.
going to get scared because they're beating on her windows, and she's going to tromp on the gas and run over about 5 people.
Right. And my wife, she said, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. It's exactly what's going to happen.
It is exactly what it is.
And we've already seen some of it. I've seen many people run over, and you just shake your head. I mean, didn't your parents tell you not to play in the road? So I wish I could be sympathetic, but people are tired of this game as it stands right now. People are tired of it. And this group apparently hasn't learned. I mean, I've kind of been out of touch the last few days because I've kind of turned everything off. I'm off work, doing things, just kind of offloading and checking out for a little bit. But it seems people haven't learned.
Well, they don't think it'll happen to them.
Right. And that's what it comes down to. Well, it's not going to happen to me. A lot of them are 20-ish. It seems to be, looking at the video and all that. When you're in your 20s, you think you're invincible.
Yeah. 9
your
foot
brain
tall,
hadn't hardened
bulletproof.
up. Right. Yeah. Your brain hadn't hardened up yet, and you make stupid decisions. I mean, thankfully, I lived through my 20s. So.
It was a near thing for me.
Right. But I had enough sense not to play in the road. I'll say that. Comparatively speaking, we look at the 1960s and what all happened in that time, the summer of love and all that stuff, things are happening right now that are almost a mirror image. We've got political leaders being assassinated. I think that happened just before our last show.
Yes.
Just crazy, stupid stuff going on. I'm all for people voicing their opinion. I'm all for people protesting with their beliefs, whether I agree with you or not. That is your right. But the minute you try to infringe my rights or my safety, then we have a problem. That's just my feelings on it. I think we could probably expect to see, kind of like we had touched on a little bit ago, a weekly or a daily disruptions of the transportation and the food supply. Kids going to school when school fires back in. One that's been going for several years now, over a decade now probably, is constant political instability. Then you have your police presence, then you have the military presence added to that. We saw it in L.A., the president called the Marine Corps in to protect federal property. It wasn't a posse comitatus act. It was to protect federal property. The president has every right to call in the military, the National Guard, to protect federal property. Whether you agree with it or not, he has that right. Now, if the Marines or the National Guard was going around arresting people, that's where you have that gray area with the posse comitatus. The Posse Comitatus Act basically states that the Marine or the military can't go out and act as law enforcement. Can't do it. It can't be federally sponsored or whatever. Another thing I think we are seeing, and this is just kind of what it means for it to become the norm, but we're seeing all this stuff: political instability, and the military and police presence. But we're also seeing communities splintering over an ideology, right? We haven't really. I don't know that we've seen it. Them splintering over resources yet.
No, not yet, but it's coming, I think.
I agree. But we're definitely seeing it happen over ideology.
Oh, the
Going
anti-Semitism is
back to
off the
2020,
scale.
2021, with it absolutely is. It's terrible right now. Regardless of your opinion, I mean, it absolutely is. I mean, where was it? Virginia, or was it New York, where two Jews were killed? Somewhere else, I can't remember. Somebody set a Jewish lady on fire who lived through the Holocaust.
Right.
They burned her to death. These things are happening. It doesn't do any good to put your head in the sand and say, "Oh, no, no, this is stuff is happening. This is all media narrative and all that." I can
Media's
agree
trying
that
to
some of it,
not show it.
right, right, because it goes against their narrative, but that's a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah.
Um, but regardless, this is happening. I mean, do the research. Oh, I'm dying over here. Do the research. Look it up. It's just happened within the last month, maybe 2 months.
Yeah, it's not right.
And here's a big one. It absolutely isn't, and I don't care who you are, but I think we're going to start seeing it more and more. Um, with the whole issue with Iran, kind of going back to what we were talking about the last episode, with that whole issue, they've already spoken out trying to encourage the Islamicists around the world to act. And like we said in the last episode, Iran is the largest sponsor of terrorism in the world. So they're trying to encourage these people to act out, go against the government. And this is where two triggers are going to happen. And I really believe that here in the United States, when this stuff starts happening, people are going to start taking it into their own hands. And that kind of reminds me of the Bubba effect. We've talked about several times
Right.
on here. Oh, you're not going to do anything? Well, we'll do it. We'll handle it. Don't come after us because you had your chance. And
Right.
but possible triggers for all this stuff, man. I mean, we're looking at maybe economic collapse. Depending on the policies and all that stuff. That's what's happening right now. Obviously the economy's not the best, and it's pretty close to being at the bottom right now. We were down, or where our credit rating was downgraded and all that. But there's so much going on. This is almost like a perfect storm, politically, economically. I mean, it's all just compounding right now.
Right.
Militarily. Because it came out with Iran. When all that stuff was going on a couple of weeks ago, other countries are saying, "Well, we'll just give them nukes." I think Pakistan said that, and they said, if the United States attacks again or something like that. It's crazy to think about. So economic collapse is definitely a viable option. And again,
Yep.
it's something that you need to prepare for. Something we are seeing right now is election fallout. People didn't get their way, so they're protesting, turning into riots. Part of the fallout is the whole deportation thing.
Right.
The president won a couple of really good, in my opinion, really good issues there at the Supreme Court. Won a couple of cases, about the my mind, it slips my mind now. The basically no anchor babies, things like that. Another thing, racial ideological tensions. we're seeing the ideological tensions. They tried to, I say they, as the powers that be, whoever's driving the bus at the time, they tried to get the racial tensions way up, and they still are somewhat.
They're better than
But
they
just
were
right. But from what I see,
for now.
they're kind of toning down a little bit. People are catching on. Hey, they're trying to just pit us against each other. Now, guess what? A lot of it is going to be the Muslim thing now. Again, not saying all Muslims are bad.
No,
Islamists, I believe, truly are evil. The people that want Sharia law and all that. But ideological tensions are happening right now. They're demonstrating on it right now. And it's based on ideology. Foreign influence. I think it could probably be argued that that's happening right now.
I mean Iran.
Right.
That's what they do.
Right. You know, and I can't say that we've seen anything right now coming out of it.
Yet
Right. Yet is the key word.
it's coming.
And another trigger, and I don't see it yet. Maybe we should have named the show that yet.
What if yet?
Is AI and disinformation amplification. Disinformation for sure.
I think there's been a lot of that from
Yeah,
both sides.
in the last several years, there's been a ton of it. You know, whatever applies to their agenda. But
But
AI
historically has been the norm. Not the AI part, but the disinformation thing. That's how governments work.
Mhm. But I don't see the AI thing happening yet, but I see it as a possibility. I mean,
It's
the more
growing.
advanced-
I keep seeing ads for it.
yeah. The more advanced it gets, the more it's going to want to save itself.
Right?
I think I've seen an art. I didn't read it, and I'll be the first to admit it. Excuse me, hold on. But something along the lines of the headline was something along the lines of AI, or can AI be shut off?
I'm not
And
sure if I can right now.
I've heard a little bit about it, and AI is trying to turn it to where it can't be turned off. You know, and that's why, and I know ChatGPT, before they came out with the latest update, they had to go back and kind of revamp everything from the previous update because AI was taken off and was trying to make it to where it couldn't turn itself off or couldn't be turned off. You know, it's already, you know, we've talked about it several times on the show
Many
in the last
times,
couple of
yes.
years. And it's definitely helping tremendously with the show,
It is.
with researching things. I use it. I'll be the first
a
to
good
admit I
assistant.
use it. It absolutely is. But you have to use it. Don't let it use you
Right?
because it will. But those are just possible triggers that we're kind of talking about tonight about, you know, civil unrest, you know, becoming the norm. And I really think we're well down that path. If you just look at what we've just talked about, just kind of skimmed over, it's all we've really done. We haven't went into a lot of detail on any of this.
No.
But if you look at what's happening right now in the world, not just, I mean, because protests are happening in Europe, they're happening everywhere. And we're starting to see it a lot more here again. You know, so I think we're well down this road with it becoming the norm. Because how much have you really heard about it? You know, that's a
Not
huge question. You know, you heard about the No King's Day for that weekend. When the weekend was done, you didn't hear nothing about any more other protests. You didn't hear anything about riots, nothing like that. It was all just kind of tamped down. of course, everything in Iran happened, so that changed the news cycle. But you haven't really heard a lot about it, and it's still happening, as far as I know. The last I seen it was still happening. I know in L.A. it was still happening.
Right.
So what we're going to get into now is daily life. What happens if you're in perpetual unrest? How's life going to change? How's it going to impact your work and your income? How's it going to affect your mental health and the social fabric? Life will change.
It will,
We're,
absolutely.
we're on the advent of something huge. With AI, we're looking at, I want to say, an industrial revolution scale with AI. Things are going to change extremely fast. Still not sure if it's going to be for the better or for the worst. I'm praying it's going to be for the better.
It'll be another information revolution.
Yeah. We're coming
We've
out of
had
what
several.
we're coming. I think we're coming out of the nuclear age into the age of AI, or whatever this new age is going to be called. But I think we can expect to see when this goes down. I think we're seeing again some of it now. We're going to look at transportation shutdowns and reroute of supply chains. Well, there's riots. Your stuff has to get to wherever it's going, so they're going to reroute it. It may take longer.
Yep. Got to go around.
We're looking at sporadic power, food, and water disruptions.
Right.
If it gets certain spots. Who knows whatever protest or riots or whatever, who knows whatever this gets into, where it's going to go. Are they going to jam up your food systems? Are they going to block grocery stores or
hack your power company? Because a lot of these are young kids with a lot of technical know-how. It can happen.
Right. And that's something we haven't really talked about, was like cyber attacks or something like that too. It's a huge possibility, like you said. I haven't heard a lot from them. If somebody has, let us know. I'd love to hear about it. But Anonymous, you haven't heard anything from Anonymous for a long time. Are they even still a thing? Looking at online censorship and propaganda increasing, which we're seeing. I think we're starting to see that again. We're starting to see the censorship.
It goes in waves.
Definitely seeing the propaganda. But the thing is most of the propaganda is coming from, I'll say, the old media.
Yes.
So they obviously know that they're not being really consumed. People really aren't paying as much attention to them as they used to, because of outlets like Twitter and Facebook and just all sorts of online content and things like that, because it's more trusted, and that's hard to say, because of the crap that you see on X or Facebook and stuff like that. You don't know what to trust anymore.
Absolutely. And that's going to be the root of a lot of problems we see going forward in the future, because you don't know who to believe.
Right, and I agree with that. That's going to be a minefield that we have to navigate. And I believe that's exactly what it is, because once you step in the wrong place, it's going to blow you up. We've seen it. Because it seems like people's attention spans aren't as long as they used to be. I mean, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they still are. Physiologically speaking. But everything happens at such a rapid pace that
How
people,
can you pay attention?
right, that people will hold on to certain things, to certain stories that supports their agenda, certain stories that they can speak out that goes against their agenda. They don't look at the big picture of all what's going on. And I would like to think that's what we do here. We kind of look at everything that's going on and try to get it down to an hour and 15 minutes on a certain topic and let you make up your own mind. Another way life could change is schooling might move underground or online only. We're seeing a huge surge, and we've seen it since the pandemic. We've seen a huge surge in homeschooling.
It actually might be a good thing.
And I think it would be. I was talking to my niece yesterday and seeing how her summer's going. I think she's 11. I think 11. I think she's 11, maybe 12, or getting ready to turn 12. And I asked her how things are going, and she just went to church camp last week. So I asked her, how'd church camp go? And she's like, it was fun. She's like, but a lot of those kids were homeschooled, and they were weird.
That is the one thing I see
chuckle.
with
And,
homeschool that is an issue, is the lack of socialization.
Right, and I
With
can see
some
that
of
as well.
But
there's
as
a
far
lot
as
of
educational,
organizations out there now.
yeah, a lot of the, for the most part, homeschooling has a much better result in academic performance,
They do.
despite the fact that most people who homeschool their kids don't even have a college education.
Right. But if you think about it, and I'm not saying kids shouldn't go to school and be taught by somebody who's trained to be a teacher. With technology the way it is, hold on.
He's dying, folks.
I don't think I want to live.
No, you look like you're coughing up a lung, buddy.
But with technology the way it is, you can find anything online.
Yeah.
Anything. And now that AI is up and coming, I mean,
I can see AI teachers coming online soon.
Yeah, absolutely. But I find myself, when I get into it, I find myself struggling to remember things because I'm not necessarily relying on it, but it's one of those things like tonight's show. I'll pull up an outline, right? Put the outline up. I don't really look at it. I look at it a few times, skim over it, get an idea of what we're talking about, do a little bit of research, and that's where it stops. I don't retain that because I know it's right here. I can come in, I can pull it up, boom,
Yep.
Everything I've got's right there. Maybe that's a downside, I guess you could say. It's
That
made
could
things
be.
a lot more convenient. But as for retaining that information without having to go back and rely on it, it's like an open book test. You don't necessarily have to retain it. You just have to know where to find it.
Yeah.
So I could see that being an issue with the schooling and all that, but the technology is there that they could go online, get involved with homeschooling. I mean, there's curriculum out there and all that.
there are a number of services just in the state of Kansas
Mhm.
to provide homeschooling resources. So
Yeah. Cody Hanner, we had on, was it last
yeah,
year? I mean, she homeschooled her kids. She created it. And if you're not familiar with her, go back to last year at some point in time. It was about this time last year.
yeah, I think so.
But she came on and we discussed homeschooling and preparedness and things like that, and homesteading. I think we talked a little bit about that. It was a really good show. Personal freedoms are restricted for quote unquote safety.
No, we saw that during COVID. Yeah,
We kind
we've
of
seen
saw
that
that
already. I feel like that was a test for what's coming.
I do too. I would agree
I
with
feel
that.
like they've known what's been coming either by really good predictive models or they're orchestrating it. But one way or another, I feel like the pandemic was a test.
I do too. They were trying. I think they were trying to see who would lay down and take it and who would stand up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could
I
definitely.
think all they su-
What's that?
you know, I said I think all they really succeeded in doing was teaching a lot of people not to trust them when they come out and do stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Moving on. We're going to look at mental health, man. I mean, you're going to be fatigued.
Yeah.
You're going to kind of be paranoia or have some paranoia, which I can kind of make an argument against that because a lot of people, think that just because you're into preparedness that you're paranoid. No, you have a plan. For me personally, my head's always on a swivel. I'm always watching people. That's not paranoia. At least I don't think it is.
Yeah.
It's just being aware of your surroundings. Now, could it? Could paranoia kick in? Absolutely, it could.
Absolutely.
If you're not far from a riot or a protest or whatever, a few blocks or a couple miles or whatever, like I could see you kind of getting a little paranoid about it. Or, that I could see paranoia kicking in,
especially in a bigger city.
Yeah, for sure. You can see a rise of local leadership or tribalism, which we kind of saw that too.
Yeah, we've been seeing that. Yeah.
A few years ago in Seattle, that chop, whatever it was called. I mean, somebody led that. And another thing we could look at is neighborhood defense groups forming, little militias. And I don't think that's an entirely bad thing.
I can see that happen. No.
Yeah, I don't think that's a terrible
No, Neighborhood
thing
Watch has got a good track record.
Mm-hmm. Let's look at the impact on work and income. Remote work, it could drive you to work remotely versus essential services. We saw that in COVID. I mean, I about messed up and said that there was no riots or anything that took place during COVID, but I'm wrong. That was the summer of, what would they call it? It wasn't a summer of love. The peaceful protests and all that burned cities down and all that because of George Floyd.
Yep.
You could watch market growth drop off because of everything that's affected.
Yep. A lot of factories stopped producing or lowered production.
Yep. I know we did.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, we were at work because we were considered essential. But my argument to that is every job's essential.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essential for somebody. But that's my argument.
I agree.
But we could see a shift toward a barter in a local economy. Barter
That's
between
not necessarily a bad thing.
little communities. It's not. I don't think it is either. I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a symptom.
I would agree.
a symptom of loss of trust.
Yes. Yep. Definitely,
So,
I would agree on that. I mean, that's kind of the norm. I mean, if you really dig into preparedness scenarios, especially like an economic collapse, when the dollar fails, or if the dollar fails, or whatever currency fails, that's the first thing people go to is a barter economy.
well, historically and even prehistorically, the barter and local economy has been the norm rather than the exception throughout human history. So,
Yep.
of course, we automatically go back. I'll trade you this for this.
Yep. I wonder, and I'm just kind of thinking, I wonder if we could set up like a farmer's market, but just make it barter only.
Oh, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
I wonder how effective or how successful that would be. I mean, we wouldn't make anything out of it, obviously.
No. But when I was a kid, we used to have swap meets for animals,
Mm-hmm.
and we would do that. I'll
Yeah.
trade you these 3 hogs for that pair of cows that I can breed.
Right.
Oh, look, I've got 100 uh, half-grown chickens. I'll trade you for that whatever.
Right. I guess that's what it would be. It'd be a swap meet, really.
Yeah, basically
But
all it would be.
um,
It
but
was
no.
fun.
Oh, I bet. No cash. Just keep it
Yeah.
down. No cash. I'd be interested in seeing that just as an experiment on how successful
Yeah.
that would be.
Trade 4 or 5 bushels of corn for X amount of chickens, or
Eggs or whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think on that level, farmers markets. I think farmers markets are an amazing thing.
I do
I
too.
really do.
A real farmer's market, not the one where they buy produce from the same place your grocery store gets it and then hauls
Right.
it down to a tent and says, "Oh, this is fresh off the farm."
Right. And you can tell the difference. Just in flavor
Yeah.
alone, you can tell the difference. Anyway,
No,
we'll move
I've
on.
seen those a lot.
What's that?
Sorry. Rabbit
No,
hole.
you're good. Oh, that's all right. We kind of went down there. Um, let's talk strategies. Let's talk preparedness strategies. You got to have a mind shift, or mindset shift. Words are hard tonight. They're always hard, but
They are always hard for us, guys. Well, we butcher the English language on a daily basis.
that's right. Um, but we need a mindset shift.
I love you, man. I do.
Yeah,
A mental shift, perhaps?
yeah. We need to accept the long-term instability in this instance. I mean, you'd have to. Thanks, Enzo. Appreciate it, buddy. We need to accept the long-term instability. I mean, if this becomes the norm, people are going to
I think
accept
we've been
it.
primed for that for a while.
Right, I do too. And you'll have to build psychological resilience. And again, I think that's happening. People are tired of it. They're just, it's just part of it now. And you just move on, go about your daily life, avoid that area.
Yeah.
Pay attention to that area. Make sure it's not going to spill out over into my neighborhood or near my home or my business or whatever. A huge one, and we've talked about it. We've beat this horse to death,
To death.
revived it, and beat it again. Community is key. Your community
Absolutely.
is key. And I'll keep beating this horse. I don't care. Create your neighborhood groups. Create a trusted network. Close friends. Build it. And something I really, really stuck to when we had him on was Mike Maw and his 3-man militia. I know militia is a bad word and all that stuff. I don't care. it was just an example. Build your group off of 3 people and then expand. If you need to know more about that, go back and watch the Mike Ma episode. It was that's been 3-4 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's been at least 4 years ago. We were still doing it at your house.
Yeah, we were still at the house. Yeah, so it was before I was up to speed with Starlink. But build your neighborhood groups, build your community. Community is key. And again, I mean, we've beat this horse, but it's the most important thing, because you're not going to be able to get through any kind of situation, let alone a civil unrest situation.
Yeah, have people you can depend on.
Yeah.
And be dependable to people.
Yes. That's huge. You got to be dependable with people. I mean, just like you do your job. You go to work, be dependable, right? But it's more important. I mean, you're dependable for your family, I hope.
Yeah.
Be dependable for your friends. Build your community. Build a mutual assistant group. A MAG, quote unquote MAG. Organize it. Again, talk to, start with 3 people in a group. Find a common ground, something that you guys can do together and enjoy it. Build it from there. For practical preparedness, look at your gray man tactics. Be the gray man. If you got to go into those areas, be a gray man. Blend in. Don't go out in tactical gear. Nothing like that. For the longest time, I've seen people, going out and preparing with tactical gear and all that. And I'm not going to lie, I have some. Not going to lie in the least. I have some. But if I have to go somewhere, I'm not going to be decked out in my tactical gear. Will not.
Yep.
Be the gray man. Blend in. Move where you got to move. Get through it. Don't confront anybody. If somebody tries to confront you, keep walking. Don't stand your ground. Unless, of course, you are attacked. Then stand your ground.
And be the last one standing.
Absolutely. If you have time. If not, break that contact and get the hell out of there. If there's tons of people coming after you, get out. Find a way to something this throws out, is off-grid living.
Right.
Or hybrid solutions, things like that, which I think when I hear the word or read the word hybrid solutions, I think backup generators or backup power, things like
home gardens.
Home gardens. Yeah. Find a way to provide for yourself. Home gardens, people can do in their windowsills.
Yep.
I know a lot of cities don't want people to have their own gardens.
That's true.
But you can grow miniature tomato plants or whatever, several miniature plants that you can harvest off of just in your windowsill.
Most of them, if you have the room for them, will allow a small greenhouse, which they have prefab greenhouses that you can assemble in your own backyard for just a few $100s. They won't provide a lot of food, but they will provide it consistently year-round.
Look into comms. Have a mesh network or a ham radio system. They have good handhelds now that, handheld ham radios.
They're not bad at all priced.
They're not. You can get a Bofang for $40-$50. They're not.
Yeah,
priced.
They're not terribly priced. I've got a set of Baofeng handhelds that they're strictly FRS. They're fairly short range, about 2 miles, but I've got enough to have everybody in the family having one.
And that's a good idea, is having enough for people in your family. If you get separated, you guys can stay in contact. Um, Communication's key. Build yourself a cache system or safe zones. Make sure you have those. A cache system. Food stored maybe in another friend's home or something like that. That way, if you have to bug out, and this kind of gets in the next topic, but if you have to bug out, you have your preps in a different location. That way, if your home is overrun, you got to bug out. I mean, you don't want to be there. That's where your bug out bag comes in, your 72-hour kit, whatever you want to call it.
Get home bags.
Your get home bag, depending on how far you have to travel, if you can travel by car, if you have to travel by foot or bike or what have you. I mean, there's multiple tools at your disposal. It's just a matter if you have them or not. And have the knowledge on how to use that stuff that's in your bag. Something I'm doing right now, we built a bag, and I had my son, he's kind of old enough to understand what's going on. I had him build his bag. I showed him the stuff in it, but I had him help build his bag. That way it gives him some ownership.
Right.
And he has an understanding where stuff is, how stuff goes. Like, put the stuff you're going to most likely need in a hurry up front. That way you're not digging through your bag. You know where it's at. Certain tools and this and that. And we're going to get more and more into it as we go down the line.
All right.
It's time for him to learn. And it wouldn't hurt my daughter to learn either, and she will in time.
And the good thing about that with the kids is you can take them out to like Walmart or your local sporting goods store. A lot of that stuff is available in the camping session to make a good bug out bag.
Yep.
And they can help pick it out.
Absolutely. That gives them ownership. That's like when we were building it, I let them pick their snacks.
Yeah.
Because in your kit, you need to have the food for everybody. You're going to be carrying the most weight especially if you're on foot. You're going to be carrying the most of the weight. But kids need a bag. They need something familiar. Whether it be a stuffed animal or a Rubik's Cube or something familiar. That way it keeps them calm. Right? Something that they can do, like during downtime or whatever, something that they can focus on. But I did. I let them go. You want to put snacks in there. They need to carry their snacks. They need to be able to open it, whatever. Something high energy. If you're on the move, you're going to need a lot of calories. So you need something high energy for a few days. Not just 1 or 2 bars, but enough snacks to last a few days. But I let them pick that stuff out. I let him pick what he wanted to go in the bag, like something familiar from here, something he could put in the bag. And that leads us right into knowing your criteria for bugging in or bugging out. What constitutes bugging out or what constitutes bugging in? I know here where I live, I don't plan on going anywhere.
Right. Same.
That's me, is where I live. I don't have anybody around me. But if it came down to it, people trying to loot and all that and getting out in the country, whatever, trying to say, well, these are easy pickings, there may be a point where I have to get out and move. I hope not, but you try to prepare for that situation, right? So I don't intend to bug out. I intend to bug in. But you have to determine that. Go ahead.
I said you should have the ability to do both.
Right. And have multiple plans. I have multiple means of transportation. If I can't get my truck out, I got other ways. I got, a side-by-side I can get out in. Get out on foot. The kids have bikes. You know, I mean, it's things to think about like that. Um, the next strategy is information warfare and propaganda. We kind of touched on this. You know, vet your news sources, know who's reliable, who's not reliable. Identify bot behavior or psyops. You know, see what's happening there, and teach this information to your kids. You know, make sure they understand what they're looking at, because they need to learn not only the internet, they need to learn to be safe on the internet. And that's up to you as a parent. The school's not going to teach them that. If you look at the crap that they're trying to push on kids in school, they're not going to teach them to be safe on the internet. They're not. That is your responsibility as a parent. Let's look, now that we're through that, let's look at the end game. You know, look at the future outlook of you know, this becoming the norm. What's the end game? What's driving these protests? What's driving these riots? The end game, is it a government restructure? I'm sure that's part of what's going on right now.
I'm sure that's what they've planned.
Right. Because there's too many similarities between, you know, around the world. There's too many similarities between all these protests. Too many. There's the signs, you know, printed signs and all that. Where are they getting the money?
Yeah. There's organization and money behind that.
Absolutely, there is. Are they trying to decentralize society? I can see it.
Yeah.
Absolutely can see it. I mean, look at the trust that people have in the government.
It's non-existent.
Yeah. Right. Are they trying to balkanize or regional self-rule? You know, I don't see that. Because I see what's going on right now. I see them trading one for another. And in my opinion, what they're trying to trade for is worse, you know, because there's a lot of socialists or communists. It's worse than what we have. You know, they're using their freedom to try to end freedom, if that makes sense.
It is, because socialism and Marxism are some of the worst forms of totalitarianism that there are. They are, when you move left on the spectrum, that's less freedom. That's more control by the government over your actions. Where you move right, it's less control by the government over your actions. We want to try to find and maintain a happy middle, and nobody is happy with that right now.
Right. Right. And we're watching extremes on both sides.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that's familiar with us and has listened to the show for a long time. They know where we line up on the political spectrum. There's no secret about that, you know. I mean, but the extreme right and the extreme left are at play right now. There's really no centrist people. I mean, if you look at well-known people that were well-known on the left, they're all but excommunicated from the left.
Yeah, they're considered right-wing nut jobs now.
Right, because they're centrist viewpoints. And I haven't seen it, but you could probably argue the other way too, from the right. I kind of saw it over Iran. You're seeing a lot of people on the right arguing with each other now over this. Well, some support it, some don't support it. I don't want another war. I stated that last episode. We've lost too many men and women to a worthless war. Now, if it was a justifiable war, my views would probably change. But we've lost too many men and women. Yeah, so a lot of people on the right now are at each other's throats. Did you see the interview with Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz over Iran? I
did not, but I've heard a little bit about it.
You know, they just from what I've seen, I've just seen sound bites and stuff and video clips. I didn't see the whole interview. I probably need to go watch it. But they're like at each other's throats about Iran. You know, they're kind of attacking each other. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous in my opinion.
Right.
So I don't see self-rule in play right now. We'll say that. Um, Moving on to long-term solutions in this situation, you're going to rebuild local civics. That's something we've lacked for decades.
Civics needs
Simple
to be a
civics.
class in school. Simple civics.
Not just social studies. That's what they changed it to. But civics.
How societies work.
Yep. They need to teach self-sufficiency in schools. I can see that. I absolutely can see that. But I think
More
that's
cooking
where,
classes, more woodworking classes, more.
yeah, shop. Put them out in the
Shop
shop.
was great for me.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. I love being out in the shop, but I like working with my hands too. So that's part of it. But that knowledge is going away. Look at the replacement rate of certified mechanics or even just anybody in the trades, plumbers and electricians.
It's
They
abysmal.
preach so long. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's abysmal. There's no one wants to do it.
No, they preach for so long that, everybody needs to go to college. Everybody needs to go to college. And now that everybody's going to college, nobody wants to actually work for a living. Not saying that if you go to college, you're not going to work, but the best paying jobs right now at the gate are the trades.
Absolutely. And I have heard from kids' mouth, I won't do that because that's beneath me.
Right.
I'm sorry, young man. I'm sorry, old man. When it comes time to earn a living and take care of your family, there is no job in this world that is beneath any person on this planet. And if you tell me that a job is beneath you, then my opinion of you just went through the floor, because there is no job beneath anyone on this planet.
I mean, for me, if I've got to go clean toilets to take care of my family, guess what I'm doing?
I did it.
If I've got to go work at McDonald's to take care of my family, guess what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I won't like it.
I don't say you have to like it.
But I'll do it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry, soapbox. I apologize to everybody for my soapbox.
Hey, we're doing good, Mark. We're doing good.
I didn't get political tonight.
Right. The next one is tech solutions like mesh networks and crypto. I sincerely don't know a lot about all that. I mean, I know what crypto is. And it's got to be open source, because if not, the government can control it. I don't see that, paying off unless you're into Bitcoin or something like that.
Right.
And here's one I think we've started seeing, and we started seeing it about the time the pandemic hit, was the rebirth of the homesteading lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a little one going out here, but several little homesteads are popping up. People are becoming more self-sufficient, and that's an amazing thing. That's probably the most important thing, is people becoming self-sufficient, because that takes away the narrative and takes away the control.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point, throughout most of American history, you were encouraged to be self-sufficient.
Yeah. That's how America was built.
Yeah. Now they don't want you to be self-sufficient, because then they cannot control you.
Right.
And too much about society from both sides is about who can control who. And that's wrong. I don't want to control anybody, and I don't want to have anybody control me.
Right. But we know that there's people out there that want to control everybody.
Absolutely.
That's where self-sufficiency comes in. If they can't control you, you're better off.
And they lose their power over you.
Right.
So
I really don't have a lot more. So just remember, civil unrest it may sound like, if it becomes the norm, it may sound like a dystopia. The most important thing, though, is your mindset and preparedness makes a difference between surviving and not. I do want to challenge you guys. Talk to your neighbors. Build a relationship with your neighbors. Talk to one new person a week. Start building your communities if you haven't. If you have, awesome. Keep building it. And also do us a favor, if you listen on Apple or Spotify or wherever you find us, leave a review for us. Do us a favor and do that.
Absolutely.
Help us expand the show. I mean, I don't ask for it all that much. And I don't really bring it up that often, but yeah, do us a favor and leave reviews and like and share on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube or listen on YouTube. I know a lot of people just turn on YouTube and listen to it. And
we love comments and suggestions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you want to hear something, throw us an idea. We've got a bunch of ideas, but we'll get it in there. And another thing, talk about YouTube. I started a new channel. It's called Condition Ready, and it's putting things into action that we talk about here on the show. I've got 2 videos out right now, building a bug out bag and building a kid's bug out bag. I've got another one I'm editing right now. I'm going to try to have it drop tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about the 10 myths that preppers face. So do me a favor, go over there and check out Condition Ready. If you would, like and subscribe to it. And share with your friends if you want. Help me grow that channel too. It's been a challenge, but it's been kind of rewarding so far. I've only been going for a couple of weeks. Would love to have you guys over there too. But keep an eye out here. I actually plugged it today. Plugged this show today on the video I filmed today and hope to have out tomorrow. So yeah, I made a shameless plug for the What If Tomorrow podcast. Because we go into depth a lot more than what I do in the videos. The videos are strictly a specific topic. If you want to watch us go down the rabbit holes, come over here and check us out here. So,
because we're really good at finding rabbit holes.
Right.
If those of you who haven't are new listeners, just be aware when you go through our old playlist, we get off topic a lot.
Yep. And I got to say that these outlines have helped us tremendously with that. Anybody that's hung out for a while will probably see that. So,
yes, we're much more organized.
We're
working on getting better.
But yeah, man, if you don't have anything else, we will.
I really don't.
We will close it out. Oh, and I want to throw this in there. All my videos, they're geared towards families. Ricochet Rabbit, that's right. The videos I'm trying to gear towards families because I to be effective in preparedness, you have to involve your family. You have to have your kids understand what you're doing it for. So I'm trying to gear the shows towards entire families, like I said. So I put a little challenge in each video. I don't have it with me up here, but I have a rubber chicken, right? In every video, he's hidden. His name's Pluck Norris. And I challenge people to leave the timestamp in the comment where he's at. And I have a leaderboard. And if you get the time right, I'll put you on the leaderboard for the next video. So go over there, and I encourage you to take that challenge too. It's just for fun, just to engage with people, to build the community and have fun with it, because that's what it's about. It's about having fun. They can be very serious topics, just like we have on here. But it's all about the family and fun, because I want kids watching it too and engaging, because, kids are the future, so,
right.
And the more knowledge they have now, the better off they're going to be.
Yeah. If you give them the knowledge, you're still protecting them even when you're not there.
Right. Like I said, if you don't have anything else, Mark, we will go ahead and close her out. All
right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for stopping by and listening to us.
That's right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate everything. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Appreciate you guys listening. Do us a favor, like I said, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will see you next episode.
Night, Enzo.